As we speak now, Accra is not the most concentrated in terms of dust city in the country. The air quality index in Accra was the highest
in the world.
And so that made Accra the most polluted city in the world. But that was just for a day.
Hi, good day and welcome to another edition of the Lowdown here on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Daniel Odro. This is our official first show for the year, and what a way to begin it. There's been a lot of chatter in town about the quality of the air and the pollution in the air lately. A lot of Ghanaians believe that this is a bit out of character and a bit out of the ordinary. But that's the layman's explanation to what's going on. Today we speak with the expert and find out what really is happening, whether or not this is an unusual occurrence and what implications it has as far as our health is concerned. Today I'm at the Meteo Agency in Accra and I speak to the senior meteorologist, Joshua Asamoah. He's speaking with us and giving us some insight of what to expect in the coming days and what has occasioned what we are experiencing as far as the air quality and the pollution in the system is concerned. Joshua, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for welcoming me into your office and all the gadgets you work with. A lot of conversations about the pollution in the air and whether or not this is out of character, whether this is out of the ordinary. From where you sit, is this an unusual occurrence?
Well, thank you. So from a meteorological point of view, this is actually one of the mild situations that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years.
That's not what the average Ghanaian thinks.
Yes, because the concentration of dust in the atmosphere at this time is not higher than what we've seen in the last few years.
Okay.
In 2016, we had very high concentration of dust in Ghana, which led to cancellation of both domestic and international flights.
Okay.
For an international flight to cancel its trip to the country, it means that visibility should drop to below 500 meters. Okay. Because these flights have landing aids. And so even if the visibility is poor, they are still able to land regardless. So for them to cancel it, it means that it was quite poor, which was due to the dust that was transported into the country around that time. But this year, we've not seen even domestic flights cancelling due to this dust situation that we are seeing. Okay. That's why I'm saying that it's mild for us in the past, in the recent years, in terms of the meteorological conditions.
Okay. But in 2016, did it last that long? Because it appears that the concerns are this seems to be dragging a bit longer than usual. Yes. Is that what the data is saying?
So the duration in 2016 was quite longer.
Was quite long.
Yes, and the intensity was also higher than what we are seeing now. But in 2023, that's just last year, we had the Harmattan over a very short period of time. Somewhere in February, it lasted for some few days and then it cleared. But the intensity around that time was way higher than what we are seeing now. Okay. So last year we were making lots of noise around air quality when Accra was seen as the most polluted city in the whole of the world. This year we are seeing similar, but the numbers last year were higher than what we are seeing now. The duration we are seeing this year is a bit higher, longer than what we experienced last year.
Last year, you're talking about the end of last year in 2023. We're in 2024, by the way.
Yes, that's
February 2024.
That's February 2023.
February, so a year ago, so year on year,
yes,
comparatively.
Yeah.
But what accounts for this sudden dust in the air and all of that? Is it human contribution, human activities contributing, or this is just from a scientific point of view, something that's happening in the atmosphere?
So it's actually a natural thing that happens.
Okay.
We are not the source of the dust that we experience here.
Okay.
It comes from the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
There are atmospheric conditions that raise or stirs up the dust within this dust source areas. That's Chad, Niger, northern Nigeria areas.
Okay.
So during the Harmattan, I'm sure we've heard of the northeast trade winds. Winds change direction. They move from northern Africa towards the Atlantic Ocean. As the winds are blowing from there, they carry the conditions on the surface where they track along with them.
Okay.
So because they are tracking over the Sahel or the deserts, they carry the dry and dusty conditions along with them, and they bring them into our country. So we are
From
only
that far away place now.
We're only experiencing the Harmattan here.
They don't stop anywhere. They have to come
because of where the winds are coming from. The thing is that as they move from the dust source region, the intensity also reduces. Okay. If we're getting the same intensity from the dust source region, I'm not sure anybody will be able to live here. But they get modified as they track along the path. So from Nigeria, we'll get higher intensity than what we will get here. Okay. Before it gets here,
so those closer to the
desert will have higher intensity in the Harmattan than what we are experiencing in the extreme western portions of West Africa.
So we have no role and no contribution in what's happening?
Not at all.
Not even for those who are accused of burning rubbish around this time. I saw somebody burning rubbish around the Accra Mall area in the open. I mean, and you would expect us to do better. Isn't that a contributory factor?
It contributes to the pollution of the air.
Okay.
But not the dust intrusion into the country.
Okay.
That is totally different.
So we have two prong issues. Yes. So the dust and the pollution.
Exactly. So all year round, we are seeing emissions from even industries.
Okay.
The burning of tires, even waste, all those things. Exhaust fumes from cars, all those things are contributing to the pollutants in the atmosphere. And this is all year round. But we don't see this high number in the air quality index until we get to the dry season, when the dust comes to compound the already polluted atmosphere that we have here. And so the dust is just an extra pollutant.
Okay.
But we already have other pollutants in the atmosphere happening. So as we speak now, Accra is not the most concentrated in terms of dust city in the country. If you move towards the northern portions, the concentration there is higher. But we are not talking of the air quality in those areas because the pollution already existing in the area is less.
Okay.
And so when the dust comes in, it does not raise it to the levels that we get here in Accra. Accra is highly polluted, and then the dust comes to aggravate that pollution.
So if I understand you correctly, we don't have control over the dust.
Yes.
But we can, to a certain degree, control the amount of pollution in the air.
Exactly. Because that is what we are contributing to this air quality index.
Yeah.
So if we reduce the emissions that are introducing these pollutants into the atmosphere, when the dust comes, that one we have no control over that one, but the effect will be minimal because the air will probably be clean. This will come to pollute it, but the level will not be as high as when it is already polluted, and this comes to compound the situation.
So what do we do if you are the average Joe? What do you do? Because very uncomfortable people who have respiratory problems like asthma, this period is a very difficult period for them. You're not a medical person, but you've worked long enough to know what kind of implications this would have on the health of the average Ghanaian. What advice do you give?
So the issues that we have most of the time around this period are cardiovascular and then respiratory.
Right.
And for a general advisory that we give, we say that you'd want to consider wearing mask, cleaning regularly. Before you take foods or fruits, you'd want to wash it quite well so that dust will not get into your system, because the particles are very fine. They're even finer than the human hair. And so they are able to go into their lungs and then cause problems for you. So you want to wear a mask, avoid your exposure even to the dust. So if you don't have any activity, you don't go out. Limit your outdoor exercises and all of those things around this time to reduce your exposure to dust. But the best thing you can do is to seek medical advice.
Okay.
Because everybody will react differently to the conditions that we are seeing now. So around this time, the best advice that we give is that you seek medical advice. They get to know your condition and know how best you can deal with it. But in general, you just have to just wear the mask, stay indoors when you don't have anything to do, clean regularly, and then probably use an air purifier if you can afford it.
That one is not very common. I'll read to you what my producer gave to me this morning regarding what your Twitter handle posted. It says, poor visibility is expected early this morning over southern Ghana due to mist. a significant impairment of visibility will be experienced across the country during the day due to dust concentration in the atmosphere. It remains dry over most parts of the country. So it's something that you do regularly?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah, that's a 24-hour forecast. We update it 3 times every day. So the first one goes out at 5 a.m.
Okay.
Then an update comes around 11 a.m. The last one goes out at 5 p.m. Okay. So every day you get at least 3 forecasts for the entire country.
Do people interact with this? Do people notice this? Do they take this advice?
Well, the interaction has increased with time.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot more interactions in recent years. We're not really that active on social media in the past, but now we are quite active on social media. We are getting a lot more people getting our information.
It's worrying, especially if you consider that for us as a country, a lot of the youth are on the street selling, and these people are opening themselves up to a lot of risk factors, especially around this period. Do you think that these people are getting the level of education about what is happening and the needed protection that they need to abide by?
Well, I think there's the education going on, but we can still do better. We want to reach everybody. We say something here in our office. If you do the forecast, it doesn't get to the person that you intend to get the information to. You are basically not working. And so you still want to always improve and get to the extra mile where everybody gets the information. It is the focus of the World Meteorological Organization to get early warning, getting to everybody by 2027. So that's our mandate where we are targeting. So we want to make sure that the information that we are producing is going to reach everybody. There will not be people who will be left on the margins.
You have a good relationship with the media, for example, because they are the channels that, reach a larger audience. Yeah. Would you say the relationship you have is one that is good, or there's still more that you can do?
Well, we really have a very good working relationship with the media. Just that we'll always ask for more. I think that we can do better with our relations. But I don't really blame people for not taking weather information that seriously, because it is something that has become part of.
They say it will rain, it doesn't rain.
That's trust. That's very sad, because most of the time you ask somebody who is saying that, where do you get information from? And it's not even from us. They are probably picking it from other sources, which may not be GMet, and they still want to blame us for those forecasts. So we just try to work and then improve and then get people to trust our information. For people who are getting the information directly from us, they really have a very high
Are your predictions
confidence.
As close to reality as possible?
Yes, they are. We did a verification just last year, and for our outlooks, the outlook is the one that we get for the whole week or for 5 days. We're close to 90%. That's the accuracy. For our daily forecast, which is point-specific forecast, we're doing over 70% accuracy. For you to get even 50% accuracy in any forecast in the tropics, that is quite commendable.
So do you do this forecast for regional base, or you do it for every region, or for the entire country? So
we do it for locations across the country.
Okay.
Our template has about 25 cities and towns, and they cut across the country. This one is on a regular, every day you get that information, and it goes out on all our social media platforms, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. We also provide information on radio stations every morning, where depends on where the radio station is. So people who call from the central region will get information specific to the central region. Those who will call from the Bono half regions will also get information for their regions. So that is not the general one that we send out, but just specific for those radio stations. We're also developing a website right now. We are about 90%.
You have a website?
We have a website. We already have a website where weather information is, but we are developing a new website where we'll be able to load shape files of all our forecasts there. And so if you go there, you can it'll be an interactive map. You know where your location is in the country. You just zoom to that area, you get a forecast for that particular area.
All right. This is still the Lowdown here on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Daniel Odro. I'm having a conversation with the senior meteorological meteo officer at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. We're having a conversation about obviously what you have become aware of in the last couple of days, which is creating a lot of conversation on social media and in the traditional media about the quality of the air, which is something we'll talk about in the next session, and the pollution in the air, a bit of difficulty when you are driving, a bit of irritation in the air for those who have some respiratory problems and all of that. In fact, there was a friend I was talking to this morning who suggested that the accident on the Pokwasi Road earlier this week was as a result of poor visibility. And while we do not have all the facts, it is something we may not rule out because of that construction on the road and the poor visibility and pollution in the air seem to have aggravated, if you like, vehicular movement and the ability of drivers to see properly on that stretch of road. We'll go for a short break. When we return, we'll talk in general with Joshua about the workings of the Meteo Agency, what they need from government and other stakeholders to improve the quality of their work. Stay with us, we're back after this break.
Everyone needs the perfect snack to munch on during a fun moment. Wow. Enjoy the tasty McBerry Twist cupcakes, deliciously baked and packaged for a sweet treat. Premium quality cakes baked with love for all, enriched in butter and milk.
Yummy.
Oh, McBerry Twist cupcakes, simply irresistible. Try one today. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back from the break. This is still the Lowdown. We're winding up our interview with the Ghana Meteorological Agency, the body that gives us the forecast of what to expect as far as the weather is concerned. Joshua Samwa is the senior meteo here at the agency, and he spared a few minutes of his time with us. But there's another leg of the conversation about the air quality. We are apparently ranked as the worst in the world as far as air quality is concerned. Is that accurate, or that is another misinformation? Joshua will give us some update on that. Is it true that we are the worst in terms of air quality in the world?
So there's a website that's also providing information on air quality.
Okay.
I think it's called the IQ Air.
Yeah.
And according to the information from that website, the air quality index in Accra was the highest
in the world.
And so that made Accra the most polluted city in the world. But that was just for a day. And it started subsiding. Okay. So we are getting an improvement in the quality of the air as at now. We actually anticipate better air quality during the week, particularly towards the weekend, because we are seeing lots of moisture coming into the country from the ocean from Thursday into the weekend. When that moisture comes, it will be able to reduce the concentration of dust that we have in the atmosphere. Some areas will even get some rainfall, which will bring down the dust in the atmosphere. And so we'll get an improved air quality during the week, hopefully from Thursday into the weekend. But that also comes with a bit of a challenge.
Oh.
You were talking about visibility, likely the cause of an accident on the Pokwasi stretch. So when we get the moisture coming like that, because there's already dust concentration in the atmosphere, the dust accretes the moisture that comes. And so they become a bit bigger. And so you get poorer visibilities. And so if you are going to drive within the eastern region, Ashanti region, western region, central region, especially the inland parts of central region, around Asinfosu, Chifuprasu areas, and in Accra, the inland parts around Pokwasi, Amasaman, you should expect very poor visibility during the midweek towards the weekend.
And why?
During
why
the early hours.
Because of what?
Because we are getting moisture coming into the atmosphere.
Okay.
There's already dust concentration there, but the dust is very fine. The particles are very fine. When the moisture comes in, they increase the droplet sizes within the country, and so you are likely to get poorer visibilities during the early hours.
Okay. During
so
the
from
early
6
hours.
a.m. to about 8 a.m., you get very poor visibility. But during the day, they will become brighter, and then conditions will just go back to normal.
Okay. So apart from the forecast that you give, do you test for air quality?
No, we don't test for air quality.
But it's something that you should be doing ordinarily.
So Environmental Protection Agency has sensors in Accra. It's not everywhere, but they also use satellite images to sort of make up for areas where they don't have sensors.
Okay.
So they are measuring the air quality index every day. So what we do as a meteorological institution is to look at the air quality index for that day, look at the projections of meteorological conditions that are likely to worsen or improve the quality of the air, and we'll be able to now give a forecast of the air's quality in the next day, the next 2, or even the next week ahead.
But if you look at best practices around the world, you are in this field. Is it your duty to be doing, or the EPA's duty, or is it a collaborative effort?
So the forecast is the duty of the meteorological institution.
Okay.
But for its recording and reporting, it differs from every country. There are countries, I know lots of countries where the Environmental Protection Agency is the one in charge of the air quality index. But for the forecasting of the air quality, that is solely the mandate of the meteorological institution.
Okay. Let's talk about the collaboration you have with the other stakeholders, so the medical stakeholders, and the EPA and all of that. How cordial are your relations? Because I'm sure with the pollution and everything, it has health implications. You should, or they should be seeking your input, or you should be seeking their input in the way the two of you work. Is that happening?
Well, yes, it is. Just last year in February, like I was saying, we had very intense Harmattan around February in Accra, and that brought a lot of news on the air quality in Accra. Last year too, we were ranked as the most polluted city in the whole of the world. And during that period, we had a press release that's EPA, Ghana Meteo, and then Ghana Medical Association. The three of us came together. So we gave the atmospheric conditions that are likely to compound on the pollution of the atmosphere or the air at that time. EPA also gave us the recordings they have had in the past and the current recordings that they are reporting on the air's quality. And then the Medical Association also gave us the implications of that dust intrusion and then the air's quality and what people should do to sort of deal with the conditions associated with the poor quality of the air that we were experiencing at that time. So that is something that we are doing now. So what we have done since then is to provide them with information on dust and possible deterioration of the air's quality, and then they will now use that information to give the advisories out to the general public. But we also give the general advisories as well.
Okay. I know you mentioned that the worst in the world in terms of the pollution was for a day.
Yeah.
That's what you say. But is that not a worry? Because it's not the first time. You mentioned that last year too, a similar thing happened. Ordinarily, if we're a country that is industrialized, it would make sense to me, because there will be a lot of companies that are, producing and emitting a lot of, emissions and all of that. That would make sense. But for a country that is largely import based, how are we even for a day the most polluted country in the world?
So that's what I said from the beginning, that pollution that we are talking about is all year round. But we never hear of Accra being the most polluted
until
city
until
the dust comes in. And that is something that we cannot control, because it's a natural thing.
But the other countries, don't they have, if you go to in Asia, where do a lot of industries where the companies are burning, so they dust, and since they don't go there.
That is why they are almost every time within the year, these areas are the most polluted. But when it gets to the dry season, then we just for a day, we just take over. But we can just try. It will probably be policies, because for an individual, you may not be able to do something that will reduce the pollutants in the atmosphere for your area. It will be a policy that is probably stopping people from even using these are normal cars because they are also contributing. Probably want to use electric cars. But we have not gotten to that. We have not gotten to that point yet. So it's something that will take a lot of an effort to get it done. But we have to find ways and means of reducing the anthropogenic pollution of the atmosphere here. That's human induced.
You just use simple English for me.
Human induced pollution of the atmosphere. So if we're able to cut down on that one, the natural one will come all right, but then the effects will be less on the people.
What about the cutting of trees and all of that along the roads? And we don't seem to have a lot of vegetation, especially in Accra.
Yeah.
You think that is also a contributory factor? We're building a mortar jungle.
So I have been concrete jungle. I've been saying this in the past when we're having lots of flood issues in Accra, and I was telling people that when people are building their homes, they are interested in tiling everywhere. We leave no space for lawns, for flowers, for trees in our homes. But these things are very essential because when it is raining and the droplets are hitting the ground directly, if it is a bare land, it makes the top of the soil compact, and so the water is not able to perforate or sink into the ground. They are forced to either stay on the ground or find its way into a gutter. Gutters are already choked, and so they overflow, leads to flooding. Our homes are also tiled, and so the water is not going anywhere. They are all running off, increasing the runoff water. There are times that we even get flooding in parts of Accra where the rainfall there is very little. At a point, sometime in the last few years, I don't recall the exact year, but it was raining around the eastern region, the mountains area, parts of Medina. It had not started in a circle, but circle had flooded.
Wow.
Yes.
So the runoff water?
The runoff was just going to those areas. These are all things that we need to do because flowers, trees, all those things are the natural way of conserving our environment. If we decide to cut all the trees down, we are just introducing lots of pollutants in the air that has no natural means of dealing with itself. And so we'll end up having higher pollutants in the atmosphere, which will end up affecting us. We're talking of climate change, and those are all contributing factors to the changes in the atmosphere that we see.
All right. Joshua, let's round up our conversations. I've spoken to a lot of people, especially when I speak to the medical professionals. They talk about how we have all the best experts here. Unfortunately, they don't have the gadgets to work with, which is what makes the difference between the foreign medical doctors and here. My point is, do you have, from everything you've said, it appears that you know your stuff, but do you have the gadgets and the financial strength to really impact society with their forecasts and predictions and all of that?
Well, so it has been a problem. I'm sure people who have been following us will see a major improvement in forecast accuracy in recent years. And that is because we've seen a lot of advancement technologically in the past few years. Now we boast of a very good distribution of rainfall recording instruments across the country. In the past, we had just 22 reporting sites in the whole of Ghana. So if you pick a place like the Ashanti region, it's a very big place. There was only one reporting site, and that's at the Kumasi airport. So if it rains anywhere else in Kumasi and there's no rain at Kumasi airport, we'll say that there was no rainfall in the Ashanti region that
really?
day. There was just one recording site there. And so if you're using this information to make predictions, most of the time it will not be accurate.
Right.
So that's the issue or the challenge that we had in the past. We've improved this with the acquisition of automatic weather stations that are scattered across. The distribution in southern Ghana is better than the northern portions, but we're working to have a very good spatial distribution of weather instruments across the country. And that will just help us build on what we have, because forecasting actually starts with data.
Right.
You feed the models with information that is already happening, and then you try to mimic what the atmosphere will behave based on what has happened in the past. So if you don't have reliable information, then your model will also give you
garbage
in, garbage out. Right. That's what was happening. But at least now, with the improvement in data collection, we are also seeing lots of technological advancements. We are not just only relying on a single model. Even in the past, we had models that were run at 50-kilometer resolution. So it means that it will cover for a very 50 by 50 kilometer area. Anything between the 50 by 50 kilometer area is considered as one area. But you know that between the 50 kilometer area, there's a lot of locations that you can have within these areas.
Yeah.
And so now we are getting very high resolution models. Some are even run at 4 kilometers. So from 50 kilometers to 4 kilometers. That is a very major improvement. And so these are things, we are trying to even get a 1 kilometer resolution model. We are really working on that at the moment at the agency. So we hope that we'll only improve with time. Okay. We had a radar. So now we rely solely on satellite observations. And the satellite just gives you an estimation based on, satellite is in space. It sends the signal towards the surface, and then the feedback that it gets, it's able to estimate the kind of conditions that are in the atmosphere. It is not as accurate as when you have a radar which is situated on the ground, and that one goes up and gets the information for you. So radar will
you can have both. Can you have both?
Yes, you can have both. We actually had a radar. The satellite is there, but at the moment the radar is not functioning, and so would expect that if the radar is there and it complements the satellite, and you're able to get even better prediction. Very expensive. Very expensive.
Like how much?
In millions of dollars. It's a very expensive tool. We actually need about 2 or so, and we'll be done to cover the whole.
Don't worry, we spend a lot on the black stars of the country. If you want to afford it, to afford it.
So I'm sure as we move ahead, we'll be able to acquire some of these equipment, and we'll be able to improve on the forecast that we have now.
My final question is: are you getting a lot of young people interested in becoming meteo officers? Is it something that's taught in the universities? Is it a, if I go to a primary school and I'm asking children, what do you want to become? Do you anticipate that somebody will say, I want to be a meteo officer in the future?
That is one of the headways that we've made as a country. In fact, if you go to some of even the European countries, they don't have the stuff that we have. Because now, if you go to the Nkommo University of Science and Technology, they run a 4-year bachelor's degree on meteorology and climate science.
And people are interested?
Yes, a lot of people are running the course. And this is in conjunction with Ghana Meteo. And so the students come here to do internship every year. And so they get the practical aspect, and they also add the theoretical aspect in school. So when they come, they are already built. You just need some few.
But can you absorb all of them after school? Or what else
you'll not be able to absorb all of them. Just last year, we employed close to 250 people. Really? And they were all new guys. The least qualification is a university degree. And so we are seeing a lot of
what other career opportunities are there for them if they don't work here?
If you don't want to work here, this is a climate space. It's a very big space. You can venture into almost everywhere. There's climate affecting health. You can go into health and
climate
climate
is
change.
These days.
It's very big.
That's where the money is.
Yeah. Climate change is now the topic of town. So once you are in the field, you have a wide net that you can catch a whole lot of.
So how many years have you been doing this?
This is my 8th year.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Thank you for your time and all the best.
All right.
My name is Daniel Odro. I hope this has been educative and informative, and hopefully you've learned a few things, how to take care of yourselves, and would speak to the medical association or the medical stakeholders and to find out what practical necessary steps you need to take to protect yourself in this very misty pollution environment. This has been another edition of The Lowdown. We're back another time with another exciting edition. Until then, it's bye for now.